back again with another episode of Between Two Friends. And today we've been trying to coordinate this for several months now. I have a very special friend and somebody I admire in the business world, especially Ivan Mladenovic from Primo. He's got a lot going on. He's also very worldly. So he's really fun to talk to. And Ivan, I hope that was an okay introduction for you, but tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. I don't know that I've been described as being worldly, but I certainly appreciate that. I think maybe like the 10-second bio. Was born in Belgrade, Serbia, moved to the US when I was 3 years old. I lived in Miami for most of my life. Did a couple years in California. I made movies for about 5 years on the production side and the finance side. And then I came back from LA and started to Miami and started an IT consulting firm. It was first a B2C business, grew into a B2B business, and now I've got a couple businesses and a 10-month-old daughter.
Yeah, congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
The lovely Kaya.
Yeah.
Tell us real quick, just how can you kind of tell the audience where you guys are, and you know how like we would all understand.
There's a big difference between a big business and a good business, and they're not necessarily always the same thing. So I think I'm more in I'm trying to build a good business, and to me that implies that I have a healthy company culture and really happy team members, that we really deliver an incredible product and incredible service, that we have great clients that really fit our company core values and kind of fit our model. And then as a whole, the whole thing is as profitable as possible. And I think we achieve each of those things. Primo is just shy of 20 employees. We've been in business for 12 years. And I guess if there's something to say about Primo, it's pivoted quite a bit. And I think businesses that pivot well and frequently are the ones that ultimately keep getting to a better place perpetually.
What do you think your key to success has been? And I know that's like usually a throwaway question because everybody wants a magic pill, and there's not one thing like, oh, you do this, and if you start an IT company, you'll be a billionaire tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. But other than being agile and being able to really adapt, what about early on? What did you guys do that really helped you gain a customer base?
My key to success, I would say more than anything, is mentors. So I was a B student. I have a film degree, so I'm not very qualified to own a business by education standards. But I have the benefit of having my first mentors, my parents, and then ultimately a lot of mentors that sort of showed me the way. So when you think about growth mindset, I tie that with mentorship a lot, because it's very easy to say, okay, my business looks like this, but I want it to look like this. Oh, there's the, person that owns that business. Let me see if I can talk to that person. And so I've built a wonderful network of very generous people that are generous with their time and their advice. And ultimately, people that have coached me in my business actively, as well as, people that I meet with passively. And it does make a material difference, because it's very like the premise of The Secret, where it's like you got to kind of vision where you want to go, but it's even easier like if you actually there is something there. So like I have a good friend who lives in Connecticut, and he has a really great IT company, and I really respect him a lot. So when we talk, it's kind of cool to see things in his business that I want to emulate, just like he sees things in mine that he wants to emulate. And it's easy to trade notes and say, okay, it's not an imaginary destination. It's something that's actually like palpable. It's like, oh, we operate in this structure. Here's how I got to this structure. And so I think that mentors and sort of having like a perpetual like growth cycle has been a big part of our success.
Yeah. So I've been on about 30 podcasts this year, and I it seems like on every one of them I say this line, which is, I really believe in coaching. And if Michael Jordan never like graduated from having a coach, right? He never tried to be a player coach. So like, why should I? And I think I know mentors is related, but it's different than having a business coach. But Like some people look at like, oh, well, I did that and I graduated and now I know everything there is to know. Like I constantly think that I don't know, and it's impossible to know everything there is to know. Plus, things are changing so quickly, and yeah, I know you've never been afraid to reach out to people for help. I mean, what's the worst somebody can say is no, right?
Yep. Yep.
And you've been very, very good at that. You got to be careful though on who you take advice from. And a lot of like in my field, right? There's a lot of attorneys that just one guy and is paralegal and has been that way for 30 years. It's like success isn't longevity to me in terms of business growth and like having a mentor. So if the guy's been the same for 30 years, maybe he's not the one you should be taking advice from. He may be a very good attorney,
Yep.
but if your goal is to build a business and to have a growth mindset and continually look for the next level, which you don't have to, that's not for everybody. But reach out to those people who have built what you want to build, right? Because there's
Yep.
always somebody with a higher level than you. So I
That
really,
premise works. The younger you are, the better that premise works. So I spoke yesterday to a gentleman that graduated from college. It was like in his last year of college and looking at project management careers and a few other things. And I said to him, "You're at the perfect age to ask anybody for anything. Like if someone called me and said, 'Hi, I'm interested in getting into the project management space. I know I don't qualify for any positions at your company, but like tell me about what that looks like 5 years from now.'" And you could get a roadmap, and I could tell you first do this, then do this, then do this, then you'll get
yeah,
this, you'll get paid this, you can expect to earn this, this is the quality of life that you will have. And you could say, after considering what you said, I don't want to do this anymore. So I think that there's not enough of that, like internship, mentorship, apprenticeship that goes on. But there is no doubt that that is such an easy way at a young age, and to some extent, like I mean, not for nothing, but I still ask for advice on a regular basis. I just get told no more often, just because people are not as available for someone like me. But if a high school kid comes to you and said, I really really would like to be an attorney when I grow up, you'll probably give him time
yeah.
or her.
People, there's no shortage of advice because people want to give you advice to validate themselves and what they've done. But that's also why you got to be careful.
Yep.
Because I've had bad advice. I think we all have like, no, you just need one really good employee and take care of them and they'll take care of you. It's like, okay, well, that's just not what I wanted out of life. But what's next for you in the next 3 to 5 years? Because you've had a huge shift now in the past 11 months, I guess, with the new coronavirus world. But I think for you guys, it's been good for business, is what it is. So what do you see changing in business in general and for you guys?
So if you had told me in March of last year that my company would have operated better working remotely, I would not have agreed with you. And this was a forced test, a long test. It's still a test. We're still working remotely. So I think that um, although the nature of my business is very office driven in that it's really hard to mentor a young technical talent if you're not physically there with them, seeing what they're doing. It's challenging to build marketing strategies and collaborate with people as easily if you're not in person. But I think though, things like Microsoft Teams and Zoom and things like that have opened an entire universe of being able to be more productive. I also think that I will probably spend about half as much time doing in-person lunches and breakfasts and things like that. I think it is possible to develop very similar relationships with people over a Zoom or a Teams meeting or something like that. So I think that I think I'll get time back. And so for me now with my daughter and sort of expanding my ability to manage time better. I think that's kind of part of the focus over the next 5 years. I mean, the other focus for me is just growing this business. I'm very, very growth minded and focused on, material growth in this business over the next 5 years. I think there's a couple more pivots that we have to make, one of which we're working on now. I've got two other businesses that I'm exploring or involved in currently. So I think that time is very important. Um, I know you agree with that. And I think that functionally creating a methodology where I can leverage my time the best way possible and also do all the things that I want to do is probably the big 5-year plan.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually really good insight. Let me circle back around to something that I think is what should be one of the biggest takeaways from this. Let's say you are a younger person wanting to get into business, is that, you were in film, you're not a computer guy. And here you are with a very successful IT company, or at least I don't think you would call yourself a computer guy, although you know more than 99% of us. But it's the fact that, and I use this analogy all the time, which is a restaurant. Like if you want to own a restaurant, you cannot be the waiter, the host, the maitre d', the sommelier, the head chef, the line chef, the owner, or
Yep.
you're going to have a terrible restaurant with really bad food. So if you want to be a restaurateur, you don't even have to be a good chef. You just have to hire the best possible chef and have great concepts and turn the work over to other people. So, you didn't let anything get in your way of saying, well, I can have a successful business even if I don't know how to build a computer from scratch, for example. And I just think that's really important. Tell me about that mindset, because your background was not in IT.
There's I think it's like a Michael Jordan thing where it's like if you and I get onto a treadmill at the same time, either you're gonna get off first or I'm gonna die on the treadmill. And so that's like, to me, it's I'm certainly not the most IT savvy person in my industry, but I just love to work. I really enjoy what I do, and I enjoy building things. And so early on, I was definitely the guy, clicking buttons and removing viruses and setting up networks. And eventually, I was able to build a team out to do not only the technical work, but also the operational work, the financial work, and things like that. So I think that that's what makes that's the cool part about being an entrepreneur, is if you enjoy building things. I was a Lego guy growing up. I was obsessed with Legos. And so if you enjoy that process and you enjoy the layers that your business has, and you enjoy, like, hey, here's what I was doing last year, now I'm doing this year, now here's what I think it needs to take, and that challenge is kind of cool. And it gets cooler as the business gets bigger, because the risk is potentially less, the reward is potentially more. The unsaid piece of this is that, like, graph that appears on Instagram, where it's like the emotional roller coaster that's being an entrepreneur, where it's like, you have an amazing day, you have an awful day, you have an amazing day, and it's literally exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And it seems like over the course of time it tapers off a little bit, but it doesn't ever end. Like, there's always something going on that is keeping you up at night, or taking you away from your daily responsibilities. For me, it's the, and enjoy the journey, not the destination. The journey is really cool, particularly when you get into tactical things and it's like, hey, if I deploy this marketing strategy, can I advance this part of my business? Hey, this is something that I think is going to be amazing in our industry, and 2 years later it is. I think that's the cool part about owning a business.
Business is fun, and at least it should be, unless you're trying to do everything yourself, something I
Right.
I constantly hammer home. So, last little piece here. I think I read recently the average entrepreneur in the past like 5 years is actually like 45 years old. So there's a lot of people ending careers and deciding to go into business for themselves. So I always have to remind myself not to say, if you have advice for young entrepreneurs out there, because middle-aged entrepreneurs, right? Or anybody. And I didn't prep you for this. So if you could leave with everybody listening, which is one last little tip, what is maybe one of your favorite things to tell people if we haven't covered it already?
If you plan your work and you work your plan will work. Right? Or the other one is like, uh, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main
The main
thing.
thing. Yeah.
That So to me, like, I think that if you're interested in running a business, you have to have a premise to your business, and you have to have a plan to your business. I think this is a perfect analogy of life. I have a vision of what I would like my life to look like when I'm 40 and 50 and 60 and 70 and so on. And at some point in my life, I started writing down the vision, and I was like,
Mhm.
I want this, I want that. The other part is like sticking to a lot of businesses are very tangential, and they go into all kinds of different areas just to make money. And not an outrageous thing to expect of a small business, a really small business. But like as you narrow, I think that that creates a material impact on you as well. And that's only something you can do at some point. You can't start your business and say, I only do business for this one segment. Well, your business is probably going to go very small because that segment is very small. But if you narrow the segment over time quickly, it could have a potential impact. So I believe in having a plan. Having a budget for your business is having a financial plan. Having a budget in your personal life is a financial plan. Having a business plan, maybe not a 50-page written business plan, but like in 2 pages, explain to me how your business is going to do awesome stuff and make money. Like to me, that is a very easy way to evaluate a business, because if people don't, it's very easy to come up with a good idea. It's hard to translate that idea into a business. And so I think that, creating a plan, a written plan that you can reference later, is a really good lesson that you can have as an early stage entrepreneur.
That plan also helps you build the right team, because you say, look, this is our mission. This is where we're going.
Yep.
Do you want to be a part of this? So then you start to get the people that, it's just like following a band, right? You follow the band that you identify with. That's where you're going to put your time and your energy and your emotion. Same thing for
Absolutely.
business, because if your business stands for something, then people know they either want to be a part of it or don't. So, Ivan, my friend, we are out of time. Thank you for your time. Obviously, our most precious resource. I appreciate you and all the things you're doing. Keep kicking butt out there, man. Very inspiring. And look, if you are interested, knock down Ivan's door. You heard it himself. If you're genuine, he'll carve out some time for you and mentor you. So,
Please do.
Ivan, appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Brett. Talk to you
All
soon.
right, take care.
Cheers.